Guys, Jim here again to bring you guys an fight video. This time I'm covering the UFC On Fox 11's heavyweight title eliminator fight, which pits two #1 contenders against each other to determine who will face Cain Velasquez for the UFC heavyweight championship, when Fabricio Werdum, a two-time Jiu-Jitsu world champion, battles a man who's been knocking out everybody left and right in Travis Browne. I will give you guys a short profile of the two fighters, as well as a full fight breakdown of the two fighters and who I have ultimately winning and walking out the #1 contender for the heavyweight championship of the world. And without further ado, let's get Werdum, Travis Browne. Now, Fabricio Werdum has got a perfect 3-0 since he's returned to the UFC. He outclassed Roy Nelson on the feet and on the ground to take the unanimous decision. He knocked out Mike Russell at UFC 147, and he coached a Ultimate Fighter Brazil opposite of Team Nogueira. And he fought Nogueira at the end of the season, and he submitted Rodrigo by armbar. I mean, that was awesome. Not as awesome as what he did to Fedor when he sunk in that triangle choke and submitted him and became the first guy to stop Fedor in mixed martial arts. Nonetheless, the victory over Nogueira made Fabricio a de facto #1 contender to face Cain Velasquez. And I thought we were going to get that fight earlier in the year, but unfortunately Cain is hurt and unable to compete anytime soon. So in the interim, he will have to face Travis Browne at UFC On Fox 11 in the main event in a 5-round fight. The stakes for this fight are high because the winner gets Cain Velasquez for the heavyweight championship. Travis Browne has been on an amazing career resurgence since his first defeat at the hands of Antonio Silva by knockout, because the guy knocked out Gabe Gonzaga via elbows. He knocked out Alistair Overeem with that front kick. Then he knocked out Josh Barnett most recently at UFC 168. And that was amazing in itself because I didn't see that happening. I just saw Barnett taking this guy down and submitting him, but Travis surprised me and surprised everybody and knocked him out in the first. But regardless, you know, it's going to be really hard for the odds makers to really consider this guy an underdog because of what he's been doing. Nobody expected him to beat Ring. Nobody expected him to beat Barnett. I sure as hell didn't. I expected to beat Gonzaga, obviously, but I didn't expect to beat those guys. Travis Browne, with all his victories, is definitely the real deal. That's for sure. And this fight in general is going to be great. I mean, I'm happy it's going to be in Florida, my home state, and the UFC did a good job because last time they brought a flyweight fight here, which didn't really do too well, and they want to blame it on the Florida market, but it's not our fault. You guys need to bring a fight that people want to get behind. And it's hard to get behind two little guys that are completely two unknowns. Whereas you got two of the top heavyweights that come to fight and finish. That is a recipe for success in Florida. Because we're willing to spend the money, Zuffa, if you bring us a fight card that is stacked with well-known names that we want to see. We'll pay the money. It's that simple, guys. So, Dana, hopefully this fight card will basically lay your fears of doing bad in Florida to rest from a sales perspective. Anyways, let's get into it and break it down. Now, when it comes down to height, Travis is 6'7", Fabricio is 6'4", so there's like 3 inches difference there. When it comes to reach, Travis Browne has an 80-inch reach, Fabricio has a 77-inch reach, so there's 3 inches difference again. When it comes to cardio, I like Fabricio better in that because he's got excellent cardio. Go 3 rounds without showing any ill effects, so I don't think an extra 2 will be much of a problem for him. I think he'll do just fine. For Travis, I'm a little bit, not as optimistic about his ability to go all 5. considering he had trouble going all three against a lower level heavyweight like Rob Broughton. So against a high level fighter like Fabricio Werdum, in a 5-round fight, it's going to be rough for him. Because in the first half of the fight, you know, he's good, he's strong, he's explosive. But as the fight goes on, in the later rounds, in round 4 and 5, I think he's going to get tired, and he's going to get sloppy, and he could be in some serious trouble if he wastes his gas tank too early. However, that aside, when we look at skills, now they're both good strikers. Mind you, Fabricio is a black belt in Muay Thai, and he's got great hands, good knees, which were on display in the Roy Nelson fight, obviously, and he's got some knockout power too, because he knocked out Gabe Gonzaga, he knocked out Mike Russo, and he TKO'd Brandon Vera. And that, when Alistair and Fabricio were fighting, he did pretty good against Overeem on the feet. In their second fight, when he wasn't playing his little Talis latest impersonation and continuing to fall on his ass and trying to tell Overeem to come down there to the ground with him. Fabricio, newsflash, nobody's stupid. They're not going to play your game. Come on, buddy. You want him on the ground, you have to take him down to the ground. It's that simple. But when it comes down to finishing ratio with strikes, I got to say Travis is a lot more impressive. Because he knocked out Stephen Struve with that Superman punch. He knocked out Reem with that front kick and punches. And he knocked out Josh Barnett with elbows and Gabe Gonzaga. That's just far more impressive list of victims that he has defeated via strikes. Now, for striking, I have to give this to Travis Browne all day long for his athleticism and his power, and his ability to cover distance. When it comes to jiu-jitsu, that's a completely different story all the way around. Because Fabricio Werdum is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Travis Browne is a purple belt. There's a world of difference there. Especially the fact that Fabricio was a Jiu-Jitsu world champion. He's won numerous titles in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, the guy was the first person to submit Fedor in MMA.
His little brother Alex Xander Emelianenko.
Not to mention, he submitted Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira via armbar. He submitted Alistair Overeem with that Kimura. The guy is just on another level on the ground. Travis, you know, he submitted, I think, what was it, Chad Griggs with that arm triangle choke, and that was about it. So, yeah, he needs to stay away from the ground when he's fighting Fabricio, because he's not going to win that. I don't care how strong he is and how athletic he is, he's not going to beat Fabricio Werdum on the ground. That's just the end of it. Fabricio, advantage in the submission grappling. Now, when it comes down to wrestling, neither one of these guys are NCAA Division I wrestlers. They both are very good at getting their opponents down, so they have good offensive wrestling. Travis has found a way to stop takedowns for the most part with those elbows and hammer fists, and that covers it. Coming into this fight, from a game plan perspective, it's very evident what Fabricio Werdum wants to do. He will take Travis down and he wants to submit him. And end this fight via tap out or verbal submission. But to get there, as we all know, all fights start on the feet. And he has to fight very technically on the feet. He's got to stick and move. He's got to counter strike. He's got to avoid all Travis's heavy shots and basically back him up. Because one thing I have noticed with Travis is that he is susceptible to getting backed up. I don't know what his problem is, but the guy always gets backed up by a lot of guys. He got backed up by Trey Congo. He got backed up by Gabe Gonzaga. He got backed up by Alistair Overeem. So he's got to basically use his striking to back Travis up, push him up against a cage, soften Travis up with strikes. Do the Alistair Overeem model. You gotta knee him to the body, dirty boxing. Then get that Muay Thai plum in there like he did in the Nelson fight and start doing punches, knee combination. And then once he's softened up, get him by the head, get a headlock in, pull guard, and get the guillotine choke. And try to submit him from that perspective. If that's not an option, he needs to do those inside trips in. He's got to get the top control over him. Got to pass that guard. He's got to get on top of him, get the full mount, start laying the ground and pound in. And from there, take his back, getting a body scissors, and slap in that rear naked. Fabricio Werdum can't knock out or submit Travis Browne. Then he has to outwork him to a unanimous decision by constant pressure and submission attempts and crisp counter-striking. Throughout the fight, lots of head movement to avoid all Travis's heavy shots. For Travis Browne, he has to avoid the ground game for Fabricio Werdum at all costs, because while he's got a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's not enough to completely negate a black belt for Fabricio's level to keep the fight standing, which means stuffing his takedown so he can't take him to the ground. And if he's on the ground, it's all about the hip escape, first position, and get on top. But don't get too comfortable with him on the ground, because the guy is still dangerous. He can threaten you with submission attempts. So he's got to get back up to his feet at all times. I mean, he can say what he wants to say. He does not want to go to the ground. Continue to fight on the feet. You have to close in on Fabricio. You have to make him go backwards. You cannot let him dictate the pace in the striking round. Use that reach. Get Fabricio Werdum within range. Set the combinations up properly. Put pressure on him. Boss him up. Look for openings to explode. And just disrupt his rhythm. Find his chin and knock his ass out. After back-to-back weeks of reviewing all the elements in this fight, the stats, and the footage, I've had a hard time coming up with a winner. And the reason for that is because the nature of this fight, where one mistake and it's over. Either Fabricio is going to submit Travis Browne, or Travis Browne is going to knock his ass out. That aside, last long. I mean, Travis Browne has the kind of athleticism, speed, and power in his hands and in his feet to take Fabricio out within a blink of an eye and add him to his impressive run of knockouts as of late, because he's been knocking out people left and right, and Fabricio would just be number 4 on the list that already includes Josh Barnett, Alistair Overeem, and Gabe Gonzaga. And more importantly, every time I bet against this guy, he ends up winning. So I think I will take the high road and pick him. My official prediction for this fight is that Travis Browne will knock out Fabricio Werdum and go on to face Cain Velasquez for the World Heavyweight Championship, likely in November. But hey, it could very well happen in December at a yet to be announced UFC event live. I'm guessing probably in Mexico. With that said, I won't be shocked if this fight goes to the deep water and Fabricio submits him. Now this does it for this fight prediction. I'll see you guys for the next one.